go. All right. And
Yay.
here we go. Okay, Yolande, feel free.
Okay, welcome everybody. For those who don't know me, my name is Yolande. I'm a ringer from Calgary. I've been ringing for 3 years and been bitten by the bell bug. And I really enjoy ringing. Recruiting is, I don't know, it's part of it, part of being enthusiastic. What I like to do with this discussion is really a discussion. It's not a solution. I would like us to use this time to generate ideas, to brainstorm, and in order to get us started off, I like to present some study data as well. So we can maybe start thinking about things in a different way. Again, it's just in a discussion. It's not a solution, and some of it don't take it as a criticism. It's just to get us going. So I'm part of the recruitment and retention support team with Tom and Eileen and Quilla and Charles and Donna. We started in January and we've had regular meetings, and we've been brainstorming and thinking about how we could get how we could support other towers in their recruitment and maybe in their retention. At the AGM in October, many members expressed that recruitment is quite a problem for some towers. And so that's when the work group was called into action. And so, as I said, we started in January. Recruiting is hard work and it can be discouraging, especially when you're not successful. So I heard a story from a UK tower. They had organized an open tower day and they showed 300 people around their tower. Unfortunately, none of those visitors was interested in learning to ring. So what went wrong? Yeah, Tom, can you please put up the next slide for me? Okay. To get us talking a little bit, I thought we have like a 5-minute icebreaker discussion about what is the situation in your area. Where do you ring? Do you actually have enough ringers? Do you have 1.5 times the number of bells in your group for your practice or for your Sunday service? And how many new recruits did you have over this year and over the last 5 years? Madeline, maybe you'd like to start us off?
I'll try. So I ring in the DC area, and we're lucky to have a lot of towers. We also have a lot of, I think a lot of people, I don't really know. The cathedral, I guess I would say, is probably where the main center of ringing, but we also have the post office tower and the seminary in Northern Virginia. And the cathedral, I think, gets pretty active ringing. And sometimes the learners come to the post office as well. For me personally, I kind of find transportation difficult because I'm coming in by public transit from the suburbs. So getting to a place like the cathedral, even though it's in the middle of the city and very, accessible for most people, is kind of out of the question for me on a weeknight. So even though I think we're doing really well and we're really, we're doing well, but it's hard sometimes logistically to get there. And there have been several people who have been like joining or at least stopping by, but again, they don't always follow up. Some of them do, but some of them just buy. And like we get tourists for the who are looking to see the tower because that's open to like park service people throughout the day. And so they'll come in the evening and like, yeah, can we see the tower? And it's like, well, are you here to ring? And sometimes they'll like express interest, but not really follow up. So that's kind of a mixed blessing.
How many learners did you get this year?
You'd
New
have to ask
recruit.
Quilla. I think maybe like,
Okay.
well, there's the cathedral school as well. There's probably more learners there than adults, but I don't really know. I would say I've only met about 3 or 4, but there's probably more.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Miriam? Miriam, would you like to share?
I'm here. This is Miriam Dixon. I ring in Raleigh at Christ Church with the Christ Church bell ringers. We're a good group of, I would say, 8. We have the honor of having Ed Butcher half of the year, and then the rest of us pretty regularly. We're a little bit down right now because it's summer, so we're going away on vacation, either I'm going to Wales, other people are going to England, other people are going to the beach. So the number of ringers varies right now. We have not had any new ringers since, I would say, before COVID. And it is difficult to get new ringers. You have to have the support of the church itself, as well as the time to give to the new ringers who are learning. And I have found that they're a little bit uncomfortable about realizing that 1 or 2 people are giving up their time to help them learn to ring. They don't quite realize that because we were all there at one point. So that's a little bit of a difficulty. And the other difficulty is just thinking that you have to have strength to ring the bells. Even with light bells, they don't realize that ours are light bells. To them, they're heavy bells. And so they think you have to have strength to ring them. So it's a lot of misunderstanding. So I would think that it would be a good idea to have meetings outside the tower to explain what is going on. But right now, I would say that recruitment is very difficult in our tower right now.
Okay. And Eileen, would you like to share anything about Philly? We can't hear you. You're muted. Eileen? You're
Yeah,
muted.
that's because
There you go.
I just got a phone call and okay. In Philly, we have 2 towers and we've had about a half a dozen new recruits come through St. Mark's, which is our Center City Tower. During the time that Charles was teaching them, we had no practices on Wednesday nights because that's the night he was using to teach. And it was disappointing for those people that still wanted to ring, but we are not strong enough. We don't have enough people to maintain practices as well as teaching. So we took a hiatus for 2 months. Those 6 people he started with have morphed into 2 really good new recruits, and now they are actually ringing on their own and with the band. They've been drunk on their Sunday service ringing. In February at St. Martin's, Alex Malosha started teaching 2 people on Saturday mornings, which I consider better because it didn't take away from our Wednesday evenings. And trying to teach handling as well as having a practice can be difficult. It's time consuming.
Yeah.
So, and just to give them a little bit in between. You really need intensive, at least 1 hour a week, at least 1 hour a week,
Yeah.
where there's nothing else going on and people aren't looking at them and watching them or whatever. So those two ringers, one is really ready to join the group too, and the other one is still having struggles, I think, with handling. So, and we are trying different means and methods to recruit, but like Miriam said, it is really difficult. We don't have the exposure that Washington has with all their different events and activities that people come in and see the bells
Okay.
or hear the bells. So we have troubles. We put out, I don't know if you want to talk about that now, but what we do, we can talk about that
No,
later.
no, not yet, not yet. Thank you, Eileen. Tom, do you have anything in Chicago?
Chicago, yeah. A little bit, yeah. So I ring in Chicago. We never have enough ringers. But right now we're not, we're better than we have been. I think I'd say there's probably 4 people that are on the learning edge, and then some more, a few more experienced ringers. For recruiting, I guess for quite a while we've had monthly open houses, and those have a couple purposes. One, of course, is trying to get new ringers, but another is just to let more people know that there are actually bells in the tower, because not many people do. It's well hidden. The bells very, very rarely ring for events. So that's one of our jobs, is to let people know about the bells.
Okay. How many? Oh yeah, you said you have 4 new learners.
Yeah, it's a hard number to come up with exactly, but that's what I think. Yeah, it's about 40.
Okay. Okay.
I was going to say, well, actually, Yolande, you put something in the clapper recently that it's the easiest thing, and I kick myself that I never thought to do this before, but there's a stairway that goes up to the tower, and it's not an easy place to find, but I began putting a sign at the bottom of that stairway, just saying, when we're in the tower, it just says what the ringers are in, and come up and take a look. And that is an incredibly easy thing for me to do. Doesn't exhaust me at all. Doesn't frustrate me. Doesn't wear me out. It's just,
Yeah.
I just put the sign up, and sometimes people actually come up, and so that's a win. And that's, like I say, that's an easy win. I was gonna say something. We have enough people to ring together a little bit, which is a change for us. And I would say, I guess it's probably an obvious statement, but it makes recruiting easier if when people come up, they can actually see people ringing. And that wasn't the case for several years. And people would come up when we say, here are the bells, here's how they work, here's the ropes. But actually seeing people do it, it makes a world of difference to somebody deciding that they might want to do that too.
So how many people will you have ringing then? 6?
Yeah, 6 is, we frequently have 6, and that's, so that's great for us, open for more, but that's, but if we can get that, then people see activity, and just makes it easier to say, this is something I might want to try too.
Okay. Thank you, Tom.
Great.
You want to add anything?
Well, I was gonna at some point say something about retention, but I think I'll save that, right?
Yeah, I like to focus a little bit more on recruitment,
Sure,
because
perfect.
that, for me, I know a bit more about that, and I like to keep it this discussion quite focused on recruitment. Well, I guess I have to tell you something about Calgary then as well. When I joined 2 years ago, the band had not had any ringers in quite a number of years. I looked back later, and from 2005 onwards, they only had 5 people coming into the ringing room as a learner, and I haven't met any of those. When I started, there was one person who, a young man who had started via the church, and he unfortunately left because of family circumstances. So basically, I'm ringing with with a band that has been together for a long, long time without any new input. Well, I was very enthusiastic, so I started to spread the word, and I've done a number of things to create interest in the local community around the church, which I will come to. I will share with you that with you at the end of the presentation. We have now 3 new learners who joined us in the fall, and 2 of those are actually ringing rounds and doing really well. One is last night he covered on a Stedman singles, so he was on the 4. He did really well, and they're making great progress. We're very happy. And next week we will have 2 young boys, 10-year-olds, with their parents coming in as a result of a visit the scouts made. We had 21 scouts into the tower, so we've been working hard, and lots of new things for Calgary.
Yolande, can I ask a question? How are the long-time ringers reacting to all of this?
Some of them take it very well. I think the band is quite enthusiastic. They realize that new blood needs to come in. On the other hand, some are a little bit, how do you say that? Grumpy about the fact that some people learn a lot faster than they have done. Others, we actually have an hour practice, bell handling, prior to our band practice. So people who are not in a physical condition to ring for a long time, they come an hour later. So we have a core group of 3-4 people who work with the learners, and it was great. On Thursday we had a great time. So, and then later on the band comes in, and then we ring our methods, and usually the learners stay and they watch, and then sometimes after maybe 20 minutes of ringing they get another turn, and we try to integrate them. So I think it's a matter of getting used to a new situation maybe, and they realize it is needed. So to keep ringing in Calgary. Tom, could you go to the next slide, please? This is a cartoon from the Church Times, and I got it from a workshop by the ART, the English Association of Ringing Teachers, and it says that everybody is recruiting volunteers, basically. We have to compete with other groups, with sports groups, church groups, school activities, and everybody has the same problem. And what I've heard a lot in our recruitment and retention support team is, oh, we tried everything, and we stand on markets, and we talk to people, we advertise, we put things on internet, and then usually, well, if we're lucky, maybe we get 1 or 2 who have an interest, but it's not the, you put in a lot of effort, and you don't get the return back. So people are a little bit discouraged. Do you recognize any of these people who are online?
Sure.
Anything of that?
Of course.
Yes. So, Tom, can you go to the next slide, please? So the R&R team has come together, and it aims to help you to generate ideas, to create enthusiasm, and provide encouragement. And we like to learn from towers that are successful in recruiting new people, new ringers. What have they done? What was successful? What worked? And I think we know what doesn't work. But if we share those stories, then we can help each other. So the R&R support team likes to hear from you. And then hopefully we can support each other and get new ringers and keep the beautiful art of change ringing going in North America. So one of the things I have been looking at, I'm a little bit of a digger. I like to read things, and that's where the green box comes in. Planning for recruitment success. What kind of people do we want in our tower, and what kind of people would be interested to actually start ringing and keep ringing? Maybe we have to be a little bit more focused in the efforts that we do. So I like to go into a little bit of research. Tom, could you please put up the next slide for me? Thank you. So who are the ringers that ring in your tower? Do you actually know them? This picture is a picture of the Birmingham ringers, and they take striking seriously, and they ring with blindfolds. Have we been recruiting blindly? Are we trying to get people without actually knowing what kind of people we can attract to our beautiful art of change ringing? What do you ringers do as an occupation? Where did they learn to ring? When did they learn to ring? What appealed to them? What are their strengths and talents that makes ringing a pleasurable hobby? When I was in Quebec, I stayed with Donna McEwen, the tower captain, and she has a wonderful husband who is an art historian. And I asked him, do you like ringing? Would you like to come? Why are you not ringing? And he said, oh no, I'm an art historian. I'm not interested in ringing. That wouldn't appeal to me. So those are the things I think we need to know and work from if we want our recruitment efforts to be more successful. Otherwise, we are recruiting blindly. So let me explain. If you are trying to improve your golf game, but you never keep a score, you don't know if you're getting any better. If you want to lose weight without stepping on the scale, you don't know if you are successful. So if you don't know whom to target in your recruitment efforts, you are likely to be disappointed. So we are only a very small guild. I heard Eileen say we have about 500 members. In England, there is a much larger population of people who ring, and there is a wealth of study data for us to have a look at. And I know ringing in the UK is very different. It's part of the culture. The density of towers is a lot higher, but still ringing is ringing. And I think the people who are attracted to ringing are very similar, because you need certain strengths and talents to actually make it a pleasurable activity. So Tom, can you put in the next slide for me, please? This is from a study, Why Do Ringers Lapse? And it was organized by either the ART or the Central Council of British Bell Ringers. It's from May 2019. There were 316 people who were asked and a number of questions, and I picked out this slide. It shows that most ringers learned to ring in the UK when they were younger than 21. There's about 70% of the ringers in the UK learned when they were younger than 21. Only 4% of the people learned when they were older than 60. So what does this tell us? Possibly tell us. Again, it's from England, so it's very different than in the States and in Canada, but still, I think we can learn something from this. If you try to recruit people of, say, 50 years or above, you're fishing in a very small pool of people who would be interested to learn to ring. And then also, another thing that shows you here is that a lot of people stop ringing when they get a family, and they're too busy raising their family, and then they come back to ringing when they have a little bit more time. So you see at the bottom, what age were you when you started again? Like 50% of the people that actually stopped ringing, they came back when they were in the age group of 41 to 59 or 60 plus. 70% actually returned to ringing. So I thought this was really interesting to think about, not as a solution, but to think about. Another study, Tom, can you put on the next slide for me, please? Tom, are you there? Oh dear. I will keep talking. The next slide will actually tell you the title is Bell Ringers, Who Are We? And there we are. And this is these are the findings published in a survey by the Central Council of British Bell Ringers in 1988. And it gives an overview of what kind of occupation ringers have. So these are people who are ringing in the UK. It seems that scientists and engineers, teachers, accountants and statisticians, and managers have an affinity for ringing. In the UK, something that struck my eye was that there are quite a few clerical people who ring. And so they are involved in ringing. I know in Calgary, unfortunately, we don't have any people from the church who are ringing. I don't know any in the American towers. Eileen, do you have, is clear?
I don't know of any. On the top of my head, the only one I know is Father Haynes from Burlington, who learned to ring and was able to manage those bells, especially the tenor, though nobody else was able to manage them. Trying to think of any other. We
Brad
did have
Lindboom.
who?
Brad Lindboom is clergy. And
Where's
there's
he at?
he learned at VTS, and he's in the Chicago area now.
Oh, okay.
And there's the mission folks, of course.
Right. I knew there was Paul Kennington, who was a vicar who was then working in Montreal. And we did have a couple of choir people that learned to ring, choir directors, music directors. But I can't think of any other.
Well, it doesn't seem like it's a big group. Miriam, do you have anybody in Raleigh to belonging to the clerical?
No, we don't.
Okay, and Madeline, do you know?
I don't think we do.
Okay, well, that I think that gives the answer. And then at the bottom, table 10.3, you see another overview of when people learn to ring. Tower captains are more likely to have learned at a younger age, but still, most of the ringers in England in 1998, 88, they learned when they were young. One of the things I couldn't find, and I thought might be interesting, is who are actually musicians in your tower? Do ringers play an instrument? Would that help? I asked around when I was in Hereford on the course, and it seemed that quite a few people actually do play an instrument, and which may help in persevering to learn and actually to handle a bell before you give up and get to play. If you have to learn to make a sound first, and then you can actually start enjoying ringing. That first half year is pretty tough, I think, for most people. So I thought musicians, that may be another interesting group of people from probably whom you could target for your recruitment efforts. If you have a conservatory in your town, maybe give a presentation there. That's the next thing I think I will try. Get some contacts in that area. Tom, can you put on the next slides, please? So this study, it was presented in the UK recruitment workshop in 2020, and it actually shows you how the world has changed. Where do we, how were people recruited? So where the church was a huge pool of people to recruit from, now it's much less. And I know the church in Calgary is quite empty, and it's people who are there are elderly. They're interested in the bells, but they don't want to ring, most likely because they're physically not fit enough anymore. Still, the best way to recruit ringers is by personal invitation. So ringers in your family and through a friend who is a ringer is still a large group. When you hear the bells, when to have a look. So there it's visibility. Like Tom said, if you hear the bells, but you don't know whom to contact, that happened to me. I heard the bells, but I didn't know that there were people pulling ropes, and it took me 4 years to actually get there. Now we have a big sign outside the church. Every time we ring, we put out the sign, and it has contact details on how to contact us and invite people to actually come up and arrange a visit. Then the Tower Open Days seem to be very successful in the UK. From Calgary, it hasn't actually resulted in recruiting anybody yet. And then in the UK, of course, they have the public appeals for new ringers. They get, well, here it's 22%. I think the Ring for the King was a really, really good way of getting new people in. When I was in England, I went to a tower and they had at least 10 new ringers, and everybody was very enthusiastic, which was nice. I don't know if you can, in the States and in Canada, that will be more difficult. I tried with the Ring for the King, but people are, well, it's less part of the culture, so maybe that's not the best way to go. So what I like to do now, we have another 20 minutes. I think, Tom, can you give me the next slide, please? instead of actually going into discussion, I would like to, maybe you could take this away to your tower and think about this. If personal invitations are a good way of getting new ringers in, then we could ask the question, when was the last time you spoke about ringing to a non-ringer? And what would you tell them if you had 2 minutes, like an elevator speech? How would you sell ringing as something that may appeal to them or may appeal to a specific group you are likely to go and come ringing? And then another thing, which is really important, but maybe something for a next time. The Central Council in the UK has published a recruitment plan, and it has 10 steps, and it gives you a whole lot of very, very difficult questions. And one of those is, what do you want to achieve with your recruitment efforts? I think Eileen, as well as Miriam, already indicated that when you get new recruits in, it takes time to actually teach them. It takes time to of the band. If you don't have enough practice time, who is gonna ring and who is not gonna ring? If they start ringing, what does the band ring? Those are things you have to think about prior to recruiting, and make a plan ahead for successful recruitment. And indeed, how will the band respond to new recruits? And Eileen asked that question. So those are the things that, if you think ahead, it will help you solve problems, and also internal and political problems, if you talk about it and go as a group. So we have 15 more. I like to go to the next slide, please. So the key message of my of this presentation, and I think also of the R&R support team, is plan ahead. Don't wait until it's too late. If you have a steady stream of new recruits, you can integrate them. If your band is smaller and smaller and smaller, then it's really, really difficult to get people in and train and get to a band that can actually ring on a regular basis, more difficult methods. And then make use of your new recruits. They are a fabulous resource. They are enthusiastic. They create enthusiasm. They generate new ideas. In our tower, the 3 learners, they are great. They say, oh, we will do this and we'll do that, and they all got working at the coronation day, ring for the king. They were in the tower when we had the scouts in, and they have new networks. Probably they play an instrument, like one of our new learners. She's very good guitar player, and she plays in all kinds of bands. So that's another source of getting people to know about ringing. I like to share the things I have done, some creative things with pictures. So please, Tom, can you get on the new slide? So the place where we are now with the North American Guild, I think we are asking as a support team, share your experiences, your ideas, your initiatives. Write an article for the Clapper. We are delighted to hear from you. It's not easy for some people. If it's too difficult, you can join our team meeting. We have regular team meetings, and you can contact me for that or Eileen, and we will set you up. Or you can become one of the support team members. We're always looking for new people and new ideas to support this. On the left, there is a picture of what I did with the Scouts. I actually made a cardboard bell of our biggest bell. So it gives people an idea how what the height is. And with kids, it's really funny because it comes up to their chins and they love it. And the idea was to actually let them decorate it or write something on it. That never materialized. They didn't have the time, and they seemed to like to play with it and just stand next to it and take pictures. And then we also have some children handbells, and I made these cardboards with the colored circles. So each bell has a different color, and each of those cardboards, they are a named call change. So we have kings and queens and seesaw and roller coaster, and the kids can match up the colors with their bell, and then they ring the bell. You can just push the top of the bell, so they're really easy to ring. And that's been a great success with the Scouts. And we also asked them to compose new named call changes for us. So now we have Patrick's call change, and we have a Scouts call change, which we ring when we are with 8 in the tower, and they were composed by the kids. And that's, we have published again in the community newsletter. So that hopefully strengthens the relationship between the bells and the community. And Tom, I have a last slide. This is the setup we had for Coronation Day. So on the left picture, you can see the big bell, the cardboard. I also made a diameter. So it's 35 3/4 of an inch in diameter. And you can see the little kitty. He or she is playing with a Sally. I hung it up in the tree, and that was a great hit. On the left of that, or just in front of there, we had walking plain hunt on 4 bells, and so people got a number on their T-shirt, and there was also a number of on the bell, and then they walked the changes, and that's always great fun. We discovered that 4 bells is enough for that. 6 people get really confused, but with 4 they start to get the hang of it quite quickly. In the front, there were some coloring pages for the kids, and another Sally. In the back, you can see the panels. So that gave information about change ringing. We had some pictures. I had a picture of the Westminster Abbey. There were some blue lines. There were some call changes. Just some general information. And then on the right side, we actually had models. So people could put together a change ringing bell. So it was a wheel and a wooden stick and a bell. And the only thing they had to do was bolt them together and attach a rope on the right place on the bell. And then they could ring the change ringing bell, so they could actually see how it worked. And the Scouts were really interested in that. It was good fun. And well, this young man will actually, hopefully, he will be coming to the tower and hopefully learn to ring with his dad. And then the lady with the tiara is one of our new learners. Her name is Emily, and she's doing great. So that's all from me. Would you like to discuss anything? Do you have any questions? Or, well, thank you.
Thank you, Yolande. Thank you very much.